Before I start the video today, I want to thank each and every one of you for the incredible letters, the incredible prayers, the support. Thank you to every one of you. Rocco, happy birthday today to my dear friend Rocco. I hope you're having a great birthday. None of this is possible without all of you. And it's really encouraging to know that there are so many people out there who are awake, who are preparing. It's encouraging to know that not everybody is a zombie, that there are people who care about where this country's going, care about their families, and just will not live life with their heads in the sand. There are people out there just like you, just like me, who are preparing every day, who know exactly where all this is going. So we saw markets across the board up today, and in part that's because we've got some of these earnings reports that came in today, some of them good, some of them not good, but I don't know. When you have these earnings reports, again, many manipulated corporate buybacks, pushing up stock prices. And of course, a lot of the data is very manipulated, and some of it was not good. And some of it was okay. But we saw markets across the board up, Dow Jones well over 300 points today. And what the markets really seem to ignore are numbers like producer price index, the consumer price index. Producer prices index today came in at 11.2%, just on fire, just a horrific number, which apparently had no effect in these markets today. These are supplier prices, ladies and gentlemen, that are being passed on to you and I, meaning more inflation. Yesterday, we got the consumer price index, the CPI, came in at 8.5%. The highest ever. Now they can say it's the highest in 40 years. No, it's the highest ever, because if you go back to how we formulated or calibrated the CPI back in the 80s, it would be the highest of all time. It would be around 17% if we went back and used that formula from the 1980s. But this 11.2% PPI is the biggest gain on record. And, we were told that, the markets were going down because of what's happening in Eastern Europe. Nothing's changed there. It's more volatile than ever. There's more uncertainty than ever, but now the markets don't care about what's happening in Eastern Europe. They don't care. We still have the Fed at near 0% interest rates. We still have a $9 trillion balance sheet. We still have the Fed buying treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. So not much has changed, except the manipulation continues. The president authorizes an additional $800 million in military assistance for Ukraine today. The U.S. has already provided $3.2 billion in the past year to Ukraine. And I'm not going to get political. I don't like war. I hope peace prevails. But who's paying for all of this is my question. Of course, you're paying for it. I'm paying for it. And what does this mean down the road? It means more inflation. How can anybody think that we're at peak inflation right now when today we're going to spend another $800 million in military assistance on top of the $3.2 billion we've already spent? More inflation is to come, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to be ready and prepared for it. UBS expects 50,000 store closures in the U.S. over the next 5 years after this health crisis pause. It's probably going to be worse than that. They were predicting 80,000. Now they're expecting 50,000. So if you're looking for some good news, it's only going to be 50,000 store closures over the next 5 years. It's going to be much more than that. If this inflation continues to persist, this number could double in my opinion. But how does this not have some sort of negative effect on these markets today? We do know that the plunge protection team exists. We do know that the Fed's balance sheet has not been shored up. We do know that we're still at near 0% interest rates. We know the Fed is still buying treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. So nothing has changed. We continue to watch the manipulation. These markets don't care about war. It doesn't care about the economy. It cares about the Fed. And when this Fed begins to tighten, oh my goodness, is it going to get ugly? Another article today from CNBC, record high inflation could mean a bigger Social Security cost of living adjustment in 2023. We all know CPI rose 8.5% March from a year ago. This means Social Security beneficiaries have reduced buying power. Social Security benefits received a record 5.9% cost of living adjustment for 2022. Those increases have been outpaced by inflation. Now they're saying a bigger cost of living adjustment may be necessary in 2023. Again, who is going to pay for this? We have less people in the workforce now than we did pre-crisis level 2019. We have over 100 million people in this country not in the labor force. Who is going to pay for these cost of living adjustments when we have less people paying into the system and more people now dependent on the system in Social Security? I don't know. This just mathematically does not play out. 2 plus 2 is not equaling 4 here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about something that comes up quite a bit. And, you know, a lot of people doubt themselves. A lot of people write me and say, hey, I've lost friends. Family members aren't talking to me. You know, they don't really think that they understand what is happening. They can't believe what is happening. And they believe that the people on the television are smarter. They believe people in their family are smarter than them. They believe these economists are smarter. And if you think that these people are smarter than you, just go back to February 15th when Jim Cramer said inflation may have just peaked. Jim Cramer, and I'm not attacking him, I'm not singling him out, but Jim Cramer back in February 15th, came out and said inflation may have just peaked. And so many people, you know, worship these people, follow these people, make financial decisions based on these people and the data that is put out there. And we need to quit doubting ourselves. You know, people will write me and say, JB, you're not smarter than the banks. You're not smarter than this person, that economist, this channel, that channel. Maybe I'm not. But Jim Cramer was wrong. Lehman Brothers was wrong. Our Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, was wrong. Months ago, he said that this inflation was transitory, just temporary. We look at Ben Bernanke, he was saying everything was fine 2 weeks before the 2008 financial crisis. All right, so we have Fed chairmen out there who told us things are fine, they're not transitory. We got Jim Cramer coming out on the television telling us this is just transitory, it's just peaked. They were all wrong. So I think we need to stop doubting ourselves and go with our gut instinct and go with what we're seeing with our own two eyes. So don't doubt yourself, ladies and gentlemen. You're not alone. You're not dumb. You see exactly what's going on. You don't have to believe everything the television tells you. Just because somebody's an economist, somebody works at a bank, does not mean they're smarter than you. You see your wages disappearing. You see your bank accounts and your savings disappearing. You see the infrastructure in your cities crumbling. You see people hurting. You see the homeless crisis growing. You see the debts and deficits getting bigger. You see your dollar buying less. You see people living off of credit cards. You don't need somebody in a $3,000 suit telling you everything's going to be okay and that everything's good, because it's not. And you know it and I know it. So stop doubting yourself. Wall Street Journal. Bank of Canada hikes 50 basis points to stem inflation, launches quantitative tightening on April 25th. Now their rate, after this 50 basis point increase, their rate is now sitting at 1 percentage point, 1 whole percentage point. So they're ahead of us. Canada is now ahead of us, being more aggressive than we are. What a joke. We still, with everything happening right now, with PPI, CPI, we're still sitting at near zero, 0.25% Fed's fund rate, while Canada now sits at 1%, which is still a joke. These markets are going to absolutely have a seizure when they begin to raise rates here. And people go, well, rates need to go up, 5%, 6%, 7%. That's normal, for a mortgage. And what they don't understand is this is an absolutely abnormal market. These markets are abnormal. They are going to literally flatline, go into shock, have a seizure when we begin to raise a full percentage, a percentage and a half. There's nothing normal in these markets, and that's why normal rates are going to be, they will absolutely devastate, shock, collapse everything, because everything has been so propped up artificially, suppressing rates to zero, pumping in trillions of dollars. These markets are so fragile, so delicate, that just a little bit is going to have catastrophic consequences. Article today, California looks to reduce weekly work hours to 32 hours a week. This no doubt will be catastrophic for business here in California. California legislators proposed a new bill that would allow employees of bigger companies to work fewer hours in a week without losing any income. This will be the ultimate job killer here in California. California just cannot figure out better ways to force more business out of the state. And most of you know that I've been talking about leaving the state of California for at least a year, and I'm going to be leaving the state of California. I plan in the next 3 to 4 weeks to be flying out to the southern part of the U.S. to look at some ranches. I'm not going to say where I'm going quite yet, but I will be filming it. I will be flying out of here in 3 to 4 weeks. And there's people out there that for some reason have an issue with me, not leaving California right now. Now, I don't know if you've ever had to move cross country, but when you have a business in a state, when you have family, when you have obligations and responsibilities, and let's not forget, this is a housing bubble right now. I don't buy anything in a bubble. I'm going to make sure I get a deal. Now, for some reason, I know there are people that just want me to leave tomorrow and say I'm just making it all up. I don't know why I would just make up a reason and tell you that I'm moving from California, how I benefit from that. But there's people that just think I'm making it up. Again, there's people out there with issues, I guess. But, I will move when I'm ready to move. And I am not going to buy anything in a bubble. Now, I do believe rates are going to continue to go up. This is going to mean that housing prices are going to begin to correct. I'm not looking to buy something through a collapse. I do want to see this market begin to really correct before I purchase something. Is it going to collapse? Yes, I believe housing is going to collapse. I'm not going to wait that long to buy something, but there's going to be huge deals and opportunities coming when that day comes. I need to get out of here before then. But I will be heading to the southern part of the U.S. I will be filming it. I will be taking you along. I'm not going to quite say where I'm going yet. I will leave that as a surprise. You can comment down below, speculate, guess. But yeah, I will be leaving here soon to be looking to look at some ranches, and hopefully, possibly this summer, be out of here, out of the state of California, because of things like this. They hate business in this state. When you look at the price of gasoline, the high taxes, the overpriced real estate, you look at the crime, it's such a tragedy of what they've done to the state of California that I have no choice but to leave. And it's sad that I have to leave. And unfortunately, I'm not going to miss it. I can't, if I could leave here tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, I would be out of here tomorrow. You look at the violent crime, pulling and dragging people out of their cars for their Rolex watches, breaking windows at jewelry stores in broad daylight, robbing people, eating at outdoor cafes for their watches and their jewelry, following people home to steal their jewelry, the amount of home invasions that are taking place, and on top of that, tents everywhere. Tent cities everywhere. So you have crime, you have tent cities, you have a crumbling infrastructure, you have business leaving here. So it is no doubt time for me to leave. I wish I could leave tomorrow. Airfare surged 20% over pre-crisis levels in March as inflation hit vacations. I cannot believe, as we're pricing out airfare right now, I cannot believe the cost to fly across the country. It is unbelievable. It is literally double, at least double what it was 2 years ago. It's really incredible. But airfare spending is up, and it's up because the consumer has got to spend so much more now to get on a plane to fly somewhere. How does this affect tourism? How is this going to affect the vacation industry and tourism industry? It's going to have a detrimental effect because so many people now don't have the discretionary means to buy airline tickets and go fly somewhere. And this is going to have a huge effect. And we see the shortage of jet fuel, the price of jet fuel, the cost to buy tickets to get on an airplane. People just are going to have to cut things out of their lives. And unfortunately, one of them is going to be getting on an airplane. And I'm going to have to bite the bullet here. Let me tell you, the cost to rent a car, the cost to get on this airplane, it is not cheap. So, but I do understand this. I have to get out of here. So I'm going to be meeting some real estate agents, looking at some ranches, and hopefully sooner than later we find something really, really nice. Soaring gas prices are forcing some Uber, Lyft drivers off the road. Many of these drivers are quitting their jobs. We talked about this weeks ago. When do people begin to say, hey, I can't afford to go to work. It's costing me now to go to work. And we're beginning to see that. Wolfstreet.com, CarMax reported shares plunged further. Shares of online used car startups, Vroom, Carvana, and Shift already collapsed. And I'm going to finish with this article because I think it's a telltale sign of what's coming. The industry went hog while jacking up prices. Consumers played along for a while, paying whatever, befuddled as they had been by the inflationary mindset and flush with the various stimulus and cash out refi monies, leftover PPP loans, etc. That all made up part of the trillions of dollars that had been set in motion by the government and by the Fed. Now, there aren't enough of these types of befuddled buyers left, and there is just there is price resistance, and used car prices are coming down. Vroom, Carvana, Shift, all of them face big trouble. Overpriced inventory, declining retail sales, surging operating costs, and price resistance. The free money has run out, ladies and gentlemen, and now people are going to have to deal with reality. And I bring this article up because we're not going to just see it in the used vehicle market. We're going to begin to see it in the new vehicle market as new vehicles begin to hit the dealer lots again. As they begin to get more chips and we begin to see more cars hit the lots, there are going to be less people that are qualified to borrow money to buy a car. There's just going to be less buyers. And that is also going to transition into the housing market. So all this FOMO, the fear of missing out, all the easy free money, the low interest rates, cheap to finance a car, cheap to finance a house, it's all coming to an end. So it's going to be much harder to find qualified buyers of used vehicles, new vehicles, and homes. And so all this now is on borrowed time because the cheap money to borrow money is not going to be cheap any longer. Things are about to get real. People now, if you need to borrow money to buy a house, it's 5%. It's going to 6%. It's going to go to 7% maybe this summer, and that's going to price out a lot of people. That is nearly double than it was. What was it, 2.65% 2 years ago for a 30-year? Now we're at over 5. We go to 6. That's going to be more than double. It's going to price out a lot of people. So the cheap money is over. Finding qualified buyers, people with discretionary money, it's going to be much, much more difficult. Everything is changing from the auto market to the housing market. It's all about to change, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to leave it there today. God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in. Share this video. Give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure you hit that bell notification so that you are alerted when the newest videos drop. God bless. Talk to you soon.